He aha te mea nunui o te ao. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. That's why it's the people who are important. And when someone comes to the door, the only thing that you know about that person is that they're a person. And they're going to come in and they're traumatised and they're shocked and they are ashamed. And we're all in this work because we want to be able to help when someone needs help. So having guidelines that point us in the direction of good practice, just build on the very foundations of the work, which is that we are going to be meeting another person. Kanohi ki te kanohi, face to face, and we're going to be making a connection with that person. And that is the thing that counts. And that's why it's important that we think about our practice and that we make every effort that we can to be as open-minded in every interaction that we have. There are some other reasons actually, because I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking that if we use these good practice guidelines, then that's a way for us to get some feedback. We often don't get feedback about the impact that we have on the people that we meet in our work, because they disappear, or we don't see them 5 years later when some of the impact might actually be kind of hitting them. So having these good practice guidelines and having an opportunity to sort of spy on the work, I suppose, from other people's perspective, to see what other people are doing, to get some stories, gives us a chance to think about what might be the ways that we impact. Every person that comes through the door is unique and has their own culture. And so it's really important for me, for us as workers, to enter every encounter with that kind of idea of I'm meeting another person and that person is different from me, and I have no ideas the ways in which that person is different from me or the same as me. And so my best guide is to listen and to find out from that person. I can also be more informed about what it means to meet someone from an obviously different community to myself, or an obviously different culture to myself, and to have paid some attention to what might make a difference in those situations. So it's going to be very hard for me to show that I am respectful and aware that I'm in connection with a real person and being a real person myself if I don't feel confident to pronounce that person's name. Or if I haven't thought about the possibility that they may be trying to lip read and I cover my mouth when I speak. So I am my most important resource in that meeting, and the ways that I have been able to think about people and their differences and my feelings about the differences between people is going to be the thing that makes a difference to my ability to connect with that person. And I'm just passionate about having those person-centred values, those client-centred values, and going in to listen and to be empathic and to prize that person. And I think it makes all the difference when you have that kind of meeting with a survivor, because they're traumatised and they often can't even sort of look up for shame and for fear. And having someone just sitting across from you and seeing that is very, very powerful. I heard a quote once, and it was, might not get it quite right, but it was something like, you start to heal the moment that you feel listened to. And I can show that I'm listening and that I'm prizing that person and respecting them just because they're a person, by being more competent in my dealings with people, by understanding more about some of the things that might block me from being open and honest if I meet a certain type of person. But I can get more understanding, and these guidelines are a fabulous shortcut for me going out and doing a whole lot of research myself. You know, I've got the way pointed for me about some of the things that it's important for me to think about before that person comes to my door, whoever that person might be, so that I'm as ready as I can be. Knowing that the most important thing still that I can do is to actually listen to that person and how they pronounce their name and how they would like me to speak to them and whether they want to be offered a drink or something to eat. Or yes, it's really important for that person to feel that they can make the choices and have the sovereignty in our interaction, because they've been violated, they've been hurt, and they've been abused, and they are very shaky with boundaries often. And the more that I can show that person that I really want to listen to them, and I really want to walk with them, the more effective the work will be, the sooner the healing can start. From being on this advisory group, I've learned a lot about the different impacts on different groups that I hadn't thought of. I'm not in that group, so I hadn't kind of thought about that. Things like the importance of the church in a community. I think that's quite huge, and being able to sort of really understand how that impacts on both the support that someone feels they can get, but also perhaps maybe the shame that they bring as part of being in that community. I remember something that one of our colleagues on the group was talking about, and saying that in any interaction, if you feel that you're representing your culture, you don't want to be a bad, she said, you don't want to be a bad gay. You don't want to somehow feel that you're going to show up your community, and that certainly has an impact when you have had your sovereignty taken away from you by some kind of harm, and especially sexual harm, sexual abuse. Yes. Who do you talk to? Sometimes in some communities I think it might be hard to find that person, and if you're in a minority community, those communities are very small. I mean, I live in Mangatarotto, I work in Dargaville, and everybody knows everything, and those are diverse communities. If you talk about the lesbian and gay community or the Muslim community, those are very, very small groups of people, and everyone is related and knows everyone else. And so the shame factor, the fear factor, the impact on the wider community is that much bigger as well. Well, I guess that the more confident I am about my ability to make contact with people, the more I'll be able to make contact with people. The more I feel like I don't have to put on some kind of persona. Okay, here I am, I'm a support worker, or I'm a counsellor, and this is what my hat looks like. The more I go, okay, I'm me, and I'm confident to meet another, that confidence kind of carries the relationship along. That confidence enables me to build rapport, enables me to feel that I'm going to be at least somewhat aware of the toes that might be there to stand on, or the things that it would probably be best not to ask, or the ways that it might be important for me to actually find out what is that person's vocabulary for the situation that they're in. How do they want to talk about what has happened to them? I don't have to have the answers because they have the answers. Yeah, so there's an impact on my confidence, and I guess that there's an impact on, well, I guess that there must be an impact on the survivor, the person that I'm with, because I can be real. At all, but one of the things that I really took on board in these good practice guidelines and our discussions around them was the necessity that came out from a number of groups for us to have those relationships with those communities already. Not to wait until we know we're going to be meeting up with an Asian woman or someone with a disability, but to have made those connections and those relationships, because that actually is the only thing that matters, is the fact that you have relationship. And once you have relationship, then that person is a person. They're not an object anymore. They're not that collection of people or that community or that culture. They're just a person.